Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to your Daily Penguin. This is our tour for that big, wide Penguin Classic wall behind me, book by book, and author by author. And we haven't had many commonalities lately. We've been bouncing all over creation, but we are back where we spent a great deal of time recently today in the 19th century with another 19th century classic. This is The Red Badge of Courage by Stephen Crane, which he wrote in, I think, the very end of the 19th century, 1899 or something like that. It's a tiny thing. It's often called a novella, but the definition of a short story is a tightly constructed, coherent unit that you can read in one sitting. Then 100 pages is what The Red Badge of Courage is. In this volume and in most other volumes where it's anthologized, it has to be lumped with other stories that Crane wrote. But it was his debut novel, and it became an immediate hit. I don't know of I've studied its critical reaction. I don't know of a single critical reaction that wasn't open to the idea that what the critic was actually reading at the moment was an immortal American classic. I don't think this is one of the few books, certainly one of the few debuts, where that judgment has existed from the beginning and is true and is absolutely correct. This is the story of a young boy, Henry Fleming, who goes to war. He wants to prove himself. He wants to believe that he's a man, to believe that he's sound all the way through, all sorts of things like that. And we see from him, through his eyes, the world of the common soldier in the American Civil War. And when the horror of war finally explodes around him, he breaks. It breaks him and changes everything. And Crane writes it in a kind of waterfall of incantatory prose that is simple and yet beautiful, and it works. It absolutely works. I have occasionally taught this book to young people, and they've all heard of it, and they all think they know what it's about. They think they know how it will affect them, and it usually affects them deeper than they thought. It's just that good. It's just that confident as a book, which is kind of amazing. I mean, Crane was amazed by the celebrity that came to him with the course of this book. But it's kind of amazing that someone so young could write something like this. I have this thing. I just got it the other day. This is the Viking Portable Stephen Crane, which is, considerably bigger. It has The Red Badge of Courage. It has all the short stories. It has all of his essays and war reporting and a lot of letters. But it underscores what this book always underscores for me, which is that this author died before he reached the age of 30. We have no idea what he would have done. Maybe he would have turned his back on the world of letters completely. It's like Rimbaud did. It could be that he would have left it in favor of more reporting, in favor of more nonfiction, or it could be that he would have written novels the whole time. Who knows? He died the slow and horrible and humiliating death of tuberculosis in his day, and so we won't know. This is the work of a very young man. It's a headlong work, full of fire and the thrill of shattering illusions that you don't typically get in the work of older people. So I don't know what this is. This will be a short Daily Penguin because this book needs no introduction whatsoever. Every American has read it. It's on every school curriculum, and it always will be. I think that it's well and truly immortal, and I firmly consider it to be one of it. If you were going to make a list of a tiny handful of irreproachably great American literature, this would be on that list. So your Daily Penguin for today is an easy recommend. If for some reason you haven't read The Red Badge of Courage, you absolutely should. And it's not like I'm sitting here saying, oh, what I think I did say, which was that if you haven't read The Tale of Genji, you should promptly go and do that, because this is an hour's work, 2 hours work. This is a very short piece of work. It's not an undertaking, and therefore it might behoove you to read it a couple of times. I've read it many times. I resisted the urge pulling this down off the shelf to read it again, just like I resisted the urge to read it when I got this volume. But I will someday. I'm sure I will. I go back to these touchstone American classics regularly. Perhaps none more so than Moby Dick, but still, Leaves of Grass, The Red Badge of Courage. I go back to these things. Even The Scarlet Letter, although, as you know from my Hawthorne Daily Penguin, my heart lies with The House of the Seven Gables. But even so, I'm sure that I will go back to this, but in the meantime, that is your Daily Penguin. It is, of course, a recommend. I suppose I should mention this book is edited with introduction and notes by Gary Scharnhorst. I don't think I've ever read his introduction. The book doesn't need any notes, so I don't. This is an instance of a Penguin classic that I have because I love the work, where I don't think I've ever even allowed myself to look at the peripherals, the scholarly apparatus. That's sometimes true, so I can't pronounce on it, but I definitely pronounce on the book. Definitely read the book. So that's your Daily Penguin for today. It's fairly simple. It's the Red Badge of Courage. And we'll see what we encounter tomorrow. Will we stay in the 19th century, or will we move on? And if so, where? I guess we'll reconvene and find out together. Thank you, BookTube.